Hello and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning in to News 9 Live. I'm Kabir Naqvi and you're watching this special broadcast of top stories from our studios here in the National Capital Region. Of course, like always, this is your one-stop shop to understand what the news pulse of the day essentially looks like. And first and foremost, the top news that we're tracking this news hour is from the West Asian conflict between Israel and Hamas. It's been 82 days, the latest from the war front first. The following content may contain visuals that are disturbing, graphic, or sensitive in nature. Viewer discretion is advised. This material is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all viewers. Please exercise caution while watching, and if you find such content distressing, we recommend discontinuing viewing. This disclaimer is provided to ensure awareness and to prioritize viewer well-being. Like I mentioned before, it's been 82 days since Hamas's first attack on Israel. And since then, nearly 21,000 Gazans have lost their lives in the conflict between Israel and Hamas. Let's get you the latest update from the war zone on your screens. First and foremost, take a look at this. Israel's war on Hamas is going to continue to last several months. This has been put forward by Israel's military chief, General Havetz Halevi. Now, Israel's fighting a seven-front war, a multifaceted war. This has been corroborated by Israel's defense minister, Yoav Gallant. On the other hand, an Israeli senior official says that differences persist, but the United States and Israel are on the same side in this particular war. On the other hand, Qatar's Emir and United States President Joe Biden, they're discussing joint mediation for a possible and potential Gazan ceasefire. Meanwhile, Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad has rejected Egypt's plan to end the war, a proper report that has been put out by Reuters. On the other hand, you've got the Israeli Defense Forces that continues its intense fighting inside the Gaza Strip, inside the Palestinian enclave. This has been corroborated by Hamas-controlled Health Ministry. 241 people were killed in the last 24 hours as the Israeli bombardment across the Strip continued. Now, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant hinted on Tuesday that the country had retaliated in Iraq, in Yemen and in Iran for the attacks that were carried out against Israel. Yoav Gallant told lawmakers that Israel is in a multifaceted war and is coming under attack from 7 theaters, namely Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Judea and Samaria in the West Bank, Iraq, Yemen and Iran. Listen in to Yoav Gallant yourself.
אנחנו נמצאים במלחמה רב-זירתית. אנחנו מותקפים משבע גזרות שונות. עזה, לבנון, סוריה, יהודה ושומרון, עיראק, תימן ואיראן. אנחנו הגבנו ופעלנו כבר בשש מתוך הגזרות האלה, ואני אומר כאן בצורה המפורשת ביותר, כל מי שפועל נגדנו הוא מטרה פוטנציאלית, אין חסינות לאף אחד.
And since the Hamas attack on southern Israel on the 7th of October, the IDF has said it also retaliated for knock-on attacks from Lebanon and Syria and carried out raids on Palestinian terrorists in the occupied West Bank. Meanwhile, the Israeli Defense Forces uploaded a video on social media claiming to show weapons being found under a blanket in a child's bedroom in the northern Gaza neighborhood of Tufa. Take a look at that video.
אחרי שמצאנו אמל"ח באחד הבתים, ממשיכים לעיתון נוסף שנמצא שם עוד אמל"ח. איפה מצאתם אותם? תראה לי.
אוקיי, קלאצ'ים מוחבים יחד עם המחסניות, יחד עם הרימונים, מתחת לשמיכה. טיל בתוך המכסה שלו.
All that weaponry that is allegedly been found inside a child's room in Tufa in northern Gaza. It was hidden under a blanket. Now, Israel has vowed to destroy Hamas, despite the global calls for a ceasefire in the 11-week-old war, amid concerns that the conflict could spread with US and Iran-aligned forces attacking each other elsewhere in the West Asian region. Moving on, Palestinians are struggling to find clean water amid a tight blockade of essential supplies. Abid Sabah, a Gazan living in the largest refugee camp in Gaza, says that some people add chlorine to the water before they drink it. He mentions that refugees use the same water for drinking, cooking or laundry despite the risk of waterborne disease outbreaks.
هي الوحيدة يعني أغلبية الناس بتصفيها عشان تشربها بحطوا إيديك كلور بكلور عشان يقدروا يشربوها.
Meanwhile, Jabalia is the largest of the 8 refugee camps in Gaza and has been home to some 1.16 lakh registered refugees, many of whom depend on food, medicine and other aid provided by the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees, the UNRWA. Meanwhile, navigation routes alter as more shippers and shipment companies divert away from the Red Sea, triggering an unexpected surge in oil prices. The strategic rerouting impacts global trade dynamics, highlighting the far-reaching consequences of shifts in maritime navigation.
More shipping companies are set to avoid the Red Sea following attacks on merchant vessels by Houthi militants. German container line Hapag-Lloyd is among the latest to say it will steer clear. 25 of its ships will be rerouted before the end of the year. Hong Kong's OOCL is making a similar move. Ships will have to take longer routes to avoid the hotspot, and that could roil supply chains worldwide. The Suez Canal route accounts for about 12% of global trade. Costs will jump too, with the price of shipping a container from China to the Mediterranean up 44% just this month. Experts say anything that is moved by sea, from toys to food and clothing, could be at risk. Concern over disruption to supplies is driving commodity prices higher too. Metals prices rose Friday, as did benchmark oil prices. Crude jumped around 1%, though traders say the impact on supplies should actually be limited. Relatively little oil is shipped through the Red Sea. Much now depends on the International Naval Task Force being set up by Washington. The Pentagon says over 20 countries have signed up to take part, though some did not want to be named. Vessels from the US, British and French navies have already shot down Houthi drones in the area. On Thursday, UK Foreign Minister David Cameron met his Egyptian counterpart to discuss the crisis.
It's absolutely essential that those maritime corridors, that the free movement of ships, of goods, of manufacturers, of oil, of world trade, that they keep going.
The crisis grew out of the war between Israel and Palestinian militant group Hamas, which runs Gaza. Yemen's Houthis have threatened to target all ships heading to Israel in response.
Meanwhile, Iraq's government condemned the overnight US airstrikes on Iraqi military positions that it said killed 1 serviceman and wounded 18 others. People calling it a clear hostile act at the hands of the United States. Here's a report.
Debris and burnt-out vehicles litter the ground in the Iraqi city of Hilla, where the US military said it carried out airstrikes against Iran-aligned militants on Monday. At least 1 serviceman was killed, and 18 other people were wounded. Iraq's government condemned the strikes as a clear hostile act. 2 Iraqi security sources said the strikes targeted the headquarters of Iraqi armed group Kataib Hezbollah in Babel province, south of Baghdad. Iraq's central government has limited control over some Iran-backed factions. Mourners later carried the coffin of the fighter during the funeral in Baghdad. One of the attendees, Sheikh Fadel Al-Ghazi, said the airstrikes were a serious crime and a blatant violation of the sovereignty of the Iraqi state. The US strikes were retaliation for an earlier drone attack on an Erbil airbase in Iraq that left a US soldier in critical condition and wounded 2 others. The back-and-forth clash was just the latest example of how the Israel-Hamas war is rippling across the Middle East. The US is Israel's closest ally, and the conflict has turned US troops at bases in Iraq and Syria into targets. There are 900 US troops in Syria and 2,500 in Iraq to help advise local forces preventing the resurgence of Islamic State or ISIS. The US military has already come under attack at least 100 times in Iraq and Syria since the Israel-Hamas war began in October. The latest unrest comes less than a week after US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin returned from a trip to the Middle East, focused on containing efforts by Iran-aligned groups to broaden the Israel-Hamas war.
Well, 2024 is right around the corner. People are making plans to bring the new year in, to ring it in rather. But what does 2024 have in store for us? Heralding 2024, our segment tells you exactly that. First up to the Russian presidential election, where Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny confirmed his arrival at an Arctic Circle prison, expressing resilience despite a challenging 20-day journey. Posting through his lawyers after a 2-week communication blackout, Navalny disclosed his location at the IK3 penal colony in Kharp, about 1,900 kilometers northeast of Moscow. Jokingly referring to himself as Father Frost in harsh conditions, he mentioned acquiring the winter gear. Now, the Polar Wolf colony, renowned for toughness, is 60 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle, founded in the 1960s as part of the Soviet Gulag system. Denying charges, Navalny claims persecution for challenging the Russian political elite. Navalny's return to Russia back in 2021, despite poisoning allegations, earned him admiration. Some of those tweets on your screens as well. After a 2-week blackout, he says, "I am your new Santa Claus." Of course, taking that joking or jokish tone to his particular tweets. Now, in a social media post, he reassured supporters, expressing contentment with his current situation. He says he's going to be out and come back stronger. Meanwhile, in the war between Ukraine and Russia, Russian forces have gained full control of Maryinka, a town in eastern Ukraine, according to Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, who told President Vladimir Putin about the same. Described as a ghost town in most accounts, Maryinka is situated southwest of the Russian-held regional center Donetsk and was once home to 10,000 people. In a video exchange posted online by Kremlin journalist, Vladimir Putin highlighted that the control of Maryinka would enable Russian forces to relocate enemy combat units away from Donetsk, providing them with a broader operational area. And this development follows Russia's capture of Bakhmut back in May 2023, which was a notable success on the battlefield. Now, the situation has been further complicated by intensified land and air-based attacks by Russian troops on the nearby towns of Avdiivka since mid-October. Now, Avdiivka has become a focal point in the slow-moving push through the Donbas region in the 22-month-old conflict between Russia and Ukraine. But even as Russia starts claiming Maryinka, Ukraine and Russia both acknowledged a military incident in the Crimean port of Feodosia, where a Russian landing ship was reportedly struck by Ukraine. However, there are conflicting reports regarding to the extent of the damage. Ukraine claims to have destroyed a significant vessel, while Moscow contends that the ship was merely damaged, resulting in at least one fatality.
Ukraine struck a large Russian warship in Crimea with cruise missiles in an overnight attack that killed at least one person. Footage obtained by Reuters shows the moment of a large explosion at the Crimean port of Feodosia on Tuesday. Reuters was able to confirm the location of the video. Ukrainian Air Force spokesperson Yuri Ihnat did not specify what kind of cruise missile was used, but both Britain and France have supplied Kiev with such weapons. Russia's defense ministry, cited by the Interfax news agency, said this large landing ship, the Novocherkassk, had been damaged. The strike could hinder Russian attempts to seize more Ukrainian territory along the Black Sea coast. Buildings in the Crimean port city of Feodosia were damaged, probably by the blast wave from a large explosion. Russia annexed Crimea from Ukraine in 2014 in a move Kiev and the West condemned as an illegal seizure. Russia has hinted it may try to seize more Ukrainian territory along the Black Sea coast. President Vladimir Putin earlier this month said that Odessa, the headquarters of Ukraine's own navy, was a Russian city. Sergei Aksyonov, the Russian-installed governor of Crimea, said on Telegram that one person had been killed. The RIA news agency said 4 people had been injured. A Ukrainian counter-offensive has made little in the way of battlefield gains, and the Russian military has regained the initiative in several places. But Ukraine has been able to inflict serious damage in attacks on Crimea, the headquarters of Russia's Black Sea Fleet. Previous attacks have targeted ships in dry docks, warships moored in the port of Sevastopol, airfields, the main Black Sea Fleet HQ building, and the bridge which connects southern Russia to Crimea. Throughout the war, Russia has used its fleet to impede Ukraine's access to the Black Sea, the main export route for the agriculture and steel exports that formed a significant chunk of the country's economy.
Well, time for us to slip into a quick break here, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, is prison really a bar to stop gangsters? Well, our next promo might question your thoughts. Take a look at that and we'll be back for more.
This is someone who is sitting inside our jails and is still very obviously and openly running, and possibly the largest organized criminal operation in the country.
Student organization of Punjab University में सोपू का acting president type भी रहा है.
He was a troublemaker, getting into fights with people, not coming to the class.
As on date, it appears that Lawrence gang is the most important, the prominent gang. Gangs here in Punjab, they are intimidated.
Today, he is India's most dangerous gangster, and India's prisons are apparently no bar to how Bishnoi runs India's largest criminal empire.
News is now content. Just stream it. Download the world's first news OTT, News9 Plus, ahead of the curve. Welcome back, and shifting our focus to Taiwan, with the leading candidate for Taiwan's upcoming presidential election, Vice President Lai Ching-te, accused the main opposition party of abandoning anti-communist principles and aligning too closely with China. In a televised address, Lai Ching-te criticized the Kuomintang, the KMT, asserting that its current leaders, instead of opposing communism as their forefathers did, are now pro-communist. The elections on the 13th of January occur amid escalating pressure from China to assert control over Taiwan, with Beijing labeling Lai Ching-te as a dangerous separatist. Lai highlighted China's interference in Taiwanese elections, framing the choice as between pro-China and pro-Taiwan administrations. Lai Ching-te has questioned the KMT's alignment with China and its departure from the stance of historical figures like former President Chiang Ching-kuo. Now, China dismissed accusations of interference, considering the election an internal matter of Taiwan. Next up, Japan's nuclear power regulator lifted the operational ban on Tokyo Electric Power's Kashiwazaki-Kariwa power plant that was imposed about 2 years ago. This paves the way for the world's largest atomic power plant, with a capacity of 8,212 megawatts, to resume the restart process, which will help slash operating costs, but a resumption still needs local consent. The plant has been offline since around 2011, when the Fukushima disaster prompted the eventual shutdown of all nuclear plants and power plants in Japan at that time. Back in 2021, the Nuclear Regulation Authority barred TEPCO from operating the Kashiwazaki-Kariwa, its only operable atomic power station, due to safety breaches, including the failure to protect nuclear materials and missteps that led to an unauthorized staff member accessing sensitive areas of the plant. Take a look at this. Pakistan's extensive deportation campaign forcibly sends back thousands of Afghans and Afghan individuals that were awaiting US resettlement. Now, the deportation drive that was initiated back on the 1st of November expelled over 1 million undocumented foreigners, primarily Afghans, amid tensions over allegations of Pakistani terrorists in Kabul. More than 4,50,000 Afghans have since then returned home, facing winter challenges near the border. Advocacy groups report at least 130 Afghans in the US resettlement process that were deported. The US Embassy provided protection letters, but Pakistani authorities often disregarded them. South Korean actor Lee Sun-kyun of the Oscar-winning film Parasite was found dead on Wednesday, according to local media. According to sources, authorities found the 48-year-old during a search for him following a report that he had gone missing. Citing police, South Korea's Yonhap news agency earlier said that Lee was found in a car at a park in Seoul.
South Korean actor Lee Sun-kyun of the Oscar-winning film Parasite was found dead on Wednesday, according to local media. A source told Reuters authorities found the 48-year-old during a search for him following a report that he had gone missing. Citing police, South Korea's Yonhap news agency earlier said that Lee was found in a car at a park in Seoul. It said his manager had called the police to report that Lee had left home and left what appeared to be a suicide note. Lee had been under investigation over illegal drug use allegations amid a government crackdown. South Korea has tough drug laws, and police had questioned Lee 3 times, including for 19 hours over the weekend. The actor had said he was tricked into taking drugs by a bar hostess, who then tried to blackmail him, according to Yonhap. Born in 1975, Lee starred as the head of a wealthy household in Parasite, which won 4 Academy Awards in 2020. He also played leading roles in some South Korean movies, as well as in the first Korean-language Apple TV Plus original series, a sci-fi thriller released in 2021.
Moving on, in a unique and perhaps unexpected move, the Istanbul police have transformed 23 luxury cars previously confiscated from crime organizations into their fleet of traffic police vehicles. The Turkey Interior Minister made the announcement on Tuesday, highlighting that this initiative was carried out in accordance with a court order. The confiscated vehicles, boasting luxury brands such as Bentley, Porsche and Volvo, underwent a notable transformation. They were repainted in the distinct white and blue colors associated with the traffic police and prominently labeled with traffic police markings. This creative adaptation aims to repurpose assets seized from criminal activities for the benefit of law enforcement and public safety. The newly converted traffic police vehicles were prominently displayed in Istanbul, drawing attention not only for their luxurious origin, but also for the innovative approach to utilize confiscated assets. Interior Minister Ali Yerlikaya personally inspected the fleet, emphasizing the commitment to repurposing resources in support of law enforcement initiatives. And we're talking about repurposing. A U.S. trade ban on Apple Watch imports took effect on Tuesday due to a patent dispute with medical technology company Masimo. The ban resulted from a complaint accusing Apple of using patented blood oxygen level technology in the Apple Watch by hiring Masimo's employees. The U.S. International Trade Commission ruled in Masimo's favor in October 2023, setting the ban for the 26th of December. Apple has appealed the decision and halted sales of the affected models, expressing strong disagreement with the ruling.
A U.S. trade ban on imports of Apple Watches went into effect Tuesday, and Apple said it had filed an appeal. It's the result of a patent dispute between Apple and a medical technology company. A firm called Masimo filed a complaint accusing Apple of hiring away its employees, using its patented technology for reading blood oxygen levels, and incorporating that tech into the Apple Watch. The U.S. International Trade Commission ruled in Masimo's favor in October, and a ban on Apple Watch imports was set to go into effect on December 26th. U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai, a member of President Joe Biden's cabinet, declined to overrule that ban. Apple has included the pulse oximeter feature in its smartwatches starting with its Series 6 model in 2020. In a statement released Tuesday, Apple said, quote, "We strongly disagree with the U.S. ITC decision and resulting exclusion order, and are taking all measures to return Apple Watch Series 9 and Apple Watch Ultra 2 to customers in the U.S. as soon as possible." An Apple spokesperson confirmed the company has appealed the ban to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit in Washington. Apple had already paused its sales of its Series 9 and Ultra 2 smartwatches in the United States last week, though the watches remain available from other retailers including Amazon, Best Buy, and Walmart as of Tuesday. The ban does not affect Apple Watch SE, a less expensive model, which will continue to be sold. Previously sold watches will not be affected by the ban.
And next up, a cool story. Maybe some things that Indians back at home might need to start taking a little bit more seriously, because in Germany, nearly 200 participants in Berlin sought post-holiday fitness in the annual Roast Goose Digestion Run. The customary event features a 5-kilometer loop, culminating in a gathering for mulled wine and pastries. In its 23rd iteration, the event's senior citizen organizers expressed concerns about its future. Event organizer Bernd Huebner hopes for a continued health in the coming years. Now, roast goose, a Christmas staple in Germany, accompanies the runners' post-celebration festivities as well. News and updates from the world of sports next. Novak Djokovic expressed inspiration from NFL legend Tom Brady as he aims to prolong his tennis career. While in Saudi Arabia for an exhibition match against Carlos Alcaraz, the 36-year-old Serbian emphasized his intention to play beyond the age of 40, drawing parallels with Brady's retirement at 45 years of age after 22 successful seasons in the NFL. Now, Djokovic revealed that Brady's longevity serves as motivation, signaling his determination to continue competing at the highest level.
Well, let's see. You know, Tom Brady is a great example of a champion in his sport and someone that has had such a great career and longevity. He has put a lot of hours and a lot of time into self-care, into recovery, into making sure that, in a way, every aspect of his body and mind is covered so that he can have a long-lasting, successful career. So I know him personally as well, and I learned a lot from him, from his example, and hopefully I can have a career that goes up to 40 or maybe even beyond. Let's see. You know, I feel great in my own body right now, and I've been playing some really high-quality tennis. 2023 was one of the best seasons I've had in my life, and you know, why stop while you're still playing great? So I'll keep going and take it one year, one by one, you know, and see how far I go.
Well, slipping into a quick commercial break here. Lots more continues right on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
Seeing is believing. Or is it? These are your favorite celebrities that you saw in the videos. But what if I told you that they are not?
Today, deepfake is one of the biggest challenges that the digital ecosystem is facing.
Cannot identify what is deepfake and what is real.
We have seen Rashmika Mandana go through the same thing, and this is becoming a common problem.
Everybody is going to be targeted.
The execution there's a laxity in our regulatory execution. In times to come, that is going to cost us a lot.
Since the last 2 years, Khalistani terror groups are threatening Indian diplomats in Canada, US, UK and Australia. Investigations of these threats led us to the first ever abduction and killing of an Indian diplomat, Ravindra Matre, in UK's Birmingham in 1984. Our months-long investigation finally led us to the murderer of Ravindra Matre, who has been hiding in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir for the last 40 years. Watch our exclusive documentary, Murder of an Indian Diplomat, where we reveal the man who killed Ravindra Matre.
Stop searching, start streaming. Download the world's first news OTT, News9 Plus, ahead of the curve.
Currently, the industry is facing a lot of challenges as far as demand is concerned. Basically, the US markets has slowed down because of high inflation.
So obviously, diamonds being a dream product, something which doesn't have a utility value or is seen as a luxury. So that obviously goes off your shopping list. That's the first item that will go off your shopping list, especially in recessionary trends.
That lab-grown diamonds are not mined, and they do away with the entire mining. So they save up on all the environmental damage that is associated with mining, and of course, the mining cost, which is why they're even more affordable.
People that is impacted by all these recessions are the artisans, are the people who work in this industry, right? But I think lab-grown diamond has allowed them to actually use their skills in the same product.
This and more streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
Welcome back. You're watching News 9 Live. Take a look at this. The migrant caravan that started on Christmas Day has finally made its way to the southern Mexican town of Villa Comaltitlan. The migrants were driven by dreams of a fresh start and the desire to reunite with loved ones in the United States. The group, mainly from Honduras and other parts of Latin America and the Caribbean, traveled together under the watch of the Mexican National Guard. They took breaks for rest and prayer along their challenging journey. Local authorities estimated that around 8,000 individuals are part of the caravan each day. At the same time, top U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Homeland Security Chief Alejandro Mayorkas, are set to visit Mexico. Well, celebrating the winter solstice amidst ancient wonders at the legendary Stonehenge site. Wow. Revelers gathered to mark this celestial event, embracing tradition and spirituality against breathtaking backdrop of this iconic monument. Take a look. Well, moving across to Sydney, where a powerful thunderstorm struck Sydney, obscuring the iconic Sydney Harbour Bridge amidst heavy rain. Now, the merging of the three storm cells into a large front resulted in hail and strong winds, leaving over 3,000 properties without electricity or power. This storm is part of a series of extreme weather events affecting Australia's east coast during the Christmas season, leading to 9 fatalities. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the county, multiple regions in Western Australia are grappling with wildfires. Tragically, a volunteer firefighter lost their life while responding to one of the bushfires. And talk about extreme weather events. A significant winter storm brought snow and ice to extensive areas of Nebraska on Tuesday, accompanied by a blizzard that pushed temperatures below freezing. The National Weather Service reported that the winter storm is expected to persist, affecting portions of the northern and central plains as well as the upper Midwest. Heavy snow, freezing rain and strong winds continued throughout Tuesday night, leading to ongoing winter weather advisories in some regions. The combination of substantial snowfall and powerful winds is creating blizzard-like conditions in central South Dakota and extending into parts of Nebraska, Kansas, and Colorado. These conditions are contributing to hazardous travel situations during the holiday week, emphasizing the need for caution and preparedness in the affected areas. Well, taking a look at some national stories, some domestic developments up next. And Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is in Jammu and Kashmir reviewing the security preparedness in the state. He said that the government won't tolerate the terrorist attacks on security forces. Now, his visit comes following Chief of Army Staff General Manoj Pandey's visit to Jammu and Kashmir.
घटना की गंभीरता को देखते हुए जो भी आवश्यक और जो भी उचित कदम है वह उठाने की भरपूर कोशिश की जा रही है। हमारे लिए हर सैनिक बेहद महत्वपूर्ण है और हमारा एक सैनिक, मैं मानता हूं, वो हमारे परिवार के सदस्य के समान है। यह हम सब के अंदर यह भावना रहती है, सारे देशवासियों के अंदर यह भावना रहती है। और आपके ऊपर कोई नजर डाले तो सचमुच यह हम सबको कतई बर्दाश्त नहीं है। मैं आपको यह विश्वास दिलाना चाहता हूं। इस प्रकार की घटनाओं को रोकने में सिक्योरिटी और इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसी दोनों ही महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाते हैं और लगातार उनके द्वारा भी यह प्रयत्न जारी है कि यह उनकी यह भूमिका और भविष्य में ज्यादा इफेक्टिव हो। उसके लिए जो भी शासन की तरफ से सहयोग की आवश्यकता है अथवा भविष्य में भी जो शासन के सहयोग की आवश्यकता पड़ेगी, उसके लिए हम सरकार का खजाना पूरी तरह से खुला हुआ है। लेकिन मैं यह भी मानता हूं कि इस प्रकार की घटनाओं को टेकन फॉर ग्रांटेड नहीं लिया जा सकता है। हमें और सजग रहने की आवश्यकता है। मैं जानता हूं आप सब सजग रहते हैं, लेकिन मैं मानता हूं कि और अधिक सजग रहने की आवश्यकता है। और जिस तरीके से आप सब काम कर रहे हैं उसके प्रति मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा, सभी के प्रति हम सबका एक कृतज्ञता का भाव है। और साथ ही जिस शौर्य और पराक्रम का आप परिचय देते हैं उसके कारण हम सबको एक गौरव की भी अनुभूति आप सबके कारण होती है। और मातृभूमि की सेवा में जो भी आपका बलिदान है, जो भी आपके एफर्ट्स हैं, जो आपकी कोशिश है, उसकी किसी भी सूरत में किसी भी चीज से तुलना नहीं की जा सकती। मैं उसे कहना चाहूंगा कि वह अपने में अनपैरेलल है और इसकी कोई कीमत भी नहीं चुकाई जा सकती। कोई हमारा सैनिक शहीद हो जाता है, भले ही कुछ कंपनसेशन दे दें, लेकिन वह कंपनसेशन के द्वारा उसको कंपनसेट नहीं किया जा सकता। वह क्षति जो होती है कभी पूरी नहीं की जा सकती। मैं आपको विश्वास दिलाना चाहता हूं कि सरकार का जहां तक प्रश्न है, सरकार आप लोगों के साथ खड़ी है और हम आपके वेलफेयर को, आपके कल्याण को, आपकी सुविधा को बराबर हम लोग टॉप प्रायोरिटी पर रखते हैं। जो कुछ भी जानकारी हम लोगों की दी जाती है उस आधार पर हम कदम उठाने की कोशिश करते हैं। लोग यह मानते हैं कि भारतीय सेना जैसी पहले थी उससे कहीं अधिक अब ताकतवर हो गई है और साथ ही हमारी भारतीय सेना पहले के कंपैरिजन में काफी वेल इक्विप्ड हो गई है। आप सभी इस देश के रक्षक हैं। देश की रक्षा के साथ साथ मैं आप लोगों से विशेष आग्रह करना चाहता हूं, देश की रक्षा की जिम्मेदारी आप लोगों के ऊपर है, लेकिन इस देश की रक्षा के साथ साथ अपने देशवासियों का दिल जीतना यह भी आपके लिए बहुत बड़ी जिम्मेदारी आपके कंधों के ऊपर है। मैं जानता हूं इस दृष्टि से भी आप लोग अपनी तरफ से प्रयत्न करते रहते हैं, लेकिन हो सकता है कि कभी चूक होती है, प्रयत्न ही होना चाहिए इस प्रकार की चूक न होने पाए जिससे कोई भारतवासी आहत हो। जिस देश की आप सेवा कर रहे हैं उस देश के लोगों के साथ भी सक्रिय रूप से जुड़े रहें, उनका विश्वास आप प्राप्त करें, समझ को बढ़ावा दें और उसमें आप महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका आप निभा सकते हैं और आप निभाते भी हैं, लेकिन उसे और अधिक गंभीरतापूर्वक निभाने की आवश्यकता है। मैं यह मानता हूं समय समय पर उनके बीच जाकर देशवासियों के साथ उनका कुशल क्षेम पूछना, कोई कठिनाई हो तो उसके बारे में भी जानकारी हासिल करना, जहां पर उसकी जानकारी देनी आवश्यक है, जिस भी स्तर पर उसकी जानकारी देना, मैं समझता हूं कि यह तब भी आपकी जिम्मेदारी है। इसलिए मैं मानता हूं कि हमारा उद्देश्य जहां पर कोई जंग जीतना है, आतंकवादियों का सफाया करना है, वहीं पर हमारा उद्देश्य, बड़ा उद्देश्य होना चाहिए कि हमें अपने देशवासियों का दिल जीतना है। हम युद्ध भी जीतेंगे, हम किसी प्रकार की जंग भी जीतेंगे, हम आतंकवादियों का भी सफाया करेंगे, लेकिन साथ ही साथ देशवासियों का हमें दिल भी जीतना है। और बहुत बड़ी जिम्मेदारी आप सबके कंधों के ऊपर है, और मैं अच्छी तरह जानता हूं उसको आप पूरी निष्ठा के साथ, पूरे लगन के साथ निभाने की अपनी तरफ से भरपूर कोशिश करते हैं।
Meanwhile, a major anti-terror operation continues in Rajouri and the Poonch sectors. Now, it's important to note here that ahead of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh's visit to Rajouri and Poonch in Jammu, security forces detected and destroyed an improvised explosive device, an IED, at Lavapora on the Srinagar-Baramulla highway. Take a look at some of the visuals, of course, deferred in time, that we received. Now, the bomb disposal squad was quickly pressed in and the device was defused. Traffic movement on the Srinagar-Baramulla National Highway came to a halt briefly as security forces conducted the entire operation. In terms of India's geopolitical diplomacy, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is on a visit to Russia. The Indian Foreign Minister, while there have been ups and downs in relationships between all the countries, the only constant in global politics has been the ties between India and Russia. Listen in to what he had to say.
But almost all these relationships have their ups and downs. So if you look at Russia and China, Russia and USA, Russia and Europe, India and China, India and USA, you will actually see over a period of time, there are good periods, there are sometimes not so good periods, there are difficulties, there are stresses, and there are very also good memories and great achievements. To me, what is actually exceptional about India-Russia relations is, from the early 50s, it actually for 70, 80 odd years, and there have been big changes in this period. You know, this was a period when actually the Soviet Union became Russian Federation, among other countries. When actually big changes have happened in world politics, when Russia has actually transformed, India has grown. And yet, if there is one constant actually in world politics, it has actually been the relationship with India-Russia. So everywhere else, actually, you get the question when you look at any relationship, why has this relationship changed? I think we are the only two countries which have to answer, why has this relationship not changed? And I can think of many reasons. One, of course, that if you look at the map of the world, if you look at the continental mass, it is natural as two big countries of the central landmass in the world, India and Russia, have many things which bring them together.
Moving on to the state of Tamil Nadu, where a gas leak from a fertilizer manufacturing facility in Ennore in Tamil Nadu has led to the hospitalization of at least 30 individuals. A pressure drop in the pipeline around 11:45 p.m. resulted in a pungent odor and gas bubbles were observed in the pipeline. Now the unit promptly depressurized the pipeline, diverting ammonia vapor to the flare, completing the operation within 20 minutes, according to the Environment Secretary, Supriya Sahu. But in the meantime, following the incident, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change of Tamil Nadu announced the closure of Coromandel International Limited's industry until further orders. The industry specializes in the production of ammonium phosphate potash sulfate. However, residents in the surrounding areas reported vomiting and nausea-like feelings shortly after the incident. 16 ambulances were dispatched, transferring injured individuals to Stanley Medical College Hospital. Now, on the other hand, following the incident, many people took to the streets and launched a protest demanding strict action against the people and the company responsible for the incident. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Top Stories. But we leave you with a special set of a documentary. Lawrence Bishnoi, he has been in prison since 2015, but that hasn't stopped him from building India's most notorious crime syndicate. On the 5th of December 2023, the Bishnoi group claimed responsibility for the murder of Sri Rajput Karni Sena chief Sukhdev Singh Gogamedi. Are prisons no hindrances to Bishnoi's activities? Take a look. Thanks for watching this episode.
India's most high-profile prison, the Tihar Jail, is now the headquarters of the country's most notorious crime syndicate. Lodged within these walls is a man who was once a rising student leader, a national-level athlete, and an aspiring politician. Today, he is India's most dangerous gangster. You know him as Lawrence Bishnoi. And India's prisons are apparently no bar to how Bishnoi runs India's largest criminal empire. On December 6, 2023, the city of Jaipur in Rajasthan was up in flames. Angry mobs blocked roads, torched tires, bringing the city to a halt. The reason? One day ago on 5th December, two shooters gunned down Sri Rajput Karni Sena chief Sukhdev Singh Gogamedi in his own home. The accused were associated with the Lawrence Bishnoi group. The orders for the hit came from their leader, Lawrence Bishnoi.
I think it is very important to take Lawrence Bishnoi very, very seriously, especially in view of the fact that this is someone who is sitting inside our jails and is still very obviously and openly running what may be among the, at least the most visible and possibly the largest organized criminal operation in the country.
As on gate, it appears that Lawrence gang is the most important, the prominent gang. And I'm sure that Lawrence Bishnoi, as on date, he can say that I'm that kind of Don ki 19 मुल्कों की पुलिस मुझको ढूंढती रह जाएगी और they are intimidated.
Today, Bishnoi operates a group that is spread globally and is involved in drug and gun running, extortion and murder. But this gang lord's story actually begins in the small nondescript village of Dutranwali in Punjab's Firozpur district.
Look, Lawrence Bishnoi basically belongs to a district called Fazilka here.